Scream 4 came out in 2011.
Yes.
Box office-wise, the movie was not a hit. Was in and out of theaters very quickly. I mentioned I saw it in theater. It was just me and opening night, me and 5 other people in the movie theater.
I bet you were laughing.
I was laughing, but then I was like, hey, this movie ain't going to make no money. There's 5 people here. We're back to Woodsboro.
It's also, probably should mention, it is Wes Craven's last movie.
Yeah, so Wes Craven died 4 years after this movie came out. He died when he was 76, so he's probably around 71, 72 filming this. It is his last movie, and that's very interesting. I guess it's a good movie to go out on because at least this is his franchise that he did, basically.
What the hell is this opening?
You know, the opening scene, I remembered watching in theaters and not knowing what the hell was going on. And now, what the hell is going on?
All I know is...
It's kind of clever because they're playing on the idea of that there's been so many stab movies in this universe. In the universe, the stab movie has become like the Saw franchise. There's like 6 or 7 of them now. So,
but I will say this: Kristen Bell should be in more horror movies as the actual killer. For some reason, she was kind of frightening.
You think so?
Yeah, just all her nice and innocentness, all of a sudden stabs Anna Paquin in the damn chest. It's like, eh?
This felt like they were just trying to get like as many cameos in the beginning of the movie as possible. Like, I get the first fake out. So.
Kristen Bell, actually, I've never really known her from shows. I know her from comedies. She's from my wife's favorite comedy, Couples Retreat. She's in one of my favorite comedies, Bad Moms and Bad Moms 2.
But yeah, no, I mean, I understand one fake out, but we didn't need 2 fake outs before getting to the real thing. But the problem I have is that the actual opening kill, it's really not much better than what we saw in the stab movies. The opening kill, we get the familiar call from Ghostface. Still our boy Roger Jackson, 11 years after the Scream 3, still sounds exactly the same, still sounds sinister, still the best phone voice in all of horror movies.
Lance Henriksen.
It's still the best phone voice in all of horror movies. Lance Henriksen is just a great actor. But he doesn't got the best phone voice in all horror movies. Come on.
Do you not remember When a Stranger Calls remake?
Yeah.
That was Lance Henriksen.
This still was not
He just was uncredited because Tommy Flanagan is the one who played the physical killer.
Still wasn't better than Ghostface, though. Ghostface could call me and trying to sell me an expired warranty, and I would renew my warranty that I don't even have because it was Ghostface, all right? That's how convincing and how scary his voice is. I'd be like, yes, Mr. Ghostface, I will renew the warranty that I don't even have in the first place.
I had a question.
I would give my credit card right there on the phone. Be like, all right, 55123445.
Have you checked the children lately?
No, because I don't have children and I'm not going to be babysitting anytime soon. So, what'd you think about the actual opening kill?
So the actual opening kill, first, technically the opening kill is Marnie, who dies off screen.
Off screen. She disappears, but we know she's probably dead.
And she gets thrown through a window, and she did. Be honest with you, this is how I know I was in for a rough time. Because I do not remember a damn thing about Roger Jackson's voice in this opening scene.
He doesn't say anything too clever. And there's really no horror trivia here, basically. Essentially, What's-Her-Face's body gets thrown through the thing. Mm-hmm. Chases our other girl up the stairs. The other girl hides in a room. And it's pretty clever. She hides in a room, but she hides at the door. So then Ghostface basically slams to the door and she flies away from the door. And then pretty much she's screwed.
So another thing I've noticed about this, and goes throughout the whole movie, the killers in this are a little bit more efficient than the first 3 because until the end, the killers in this do not have any goofy moments when they're actually Ghostface.
They're not. And Ghostface is definitely more ruthless, I would say. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, to be fair, they've seen 7 stab movies. They should be efficient. They've seen 6 stab movies where Ghostface flies off the couch and bumbles and stumbles away through each movie. Well, here's the question.
In the stab movies, is Ghostface a goofy killer, or is he ruthless in those movies? He could be ruthless for all we know.
If it's true to what we've seen in the Scream movies, he's a bumbling hack, all right? He's flying all over the place and always has way too much energy. Ghostface in most of his chase scenes looks like he just downed 3 Mountain Dews, and he looks like he's doing way too much.
Why do you gotta bring that up, bud?
I'm just saying. I mean, if you were Ghostface, you'd be way too hyped up. So,
Also,
one callback they have in the scene though is that she does try to crawl under the garage.
Yep.
And a realistic garage scene, the garage door comes down, kind of taps from the back, and then goes back up.
because I've had a garage door land on me. Now, an automatic one like that slowly comes down on you, it's not going to hurt. The minute it finds resistance, it goes back up.
Yeah, it is. It should, yeah.
Now, if he would have came up behind her, grabbed it, and slammed it down himself, that would have done some damage. I understand she's already been stabbed.
Well,
Does hurt.
He'd have to be superhuman Tommy Jarvis to like slam the garage door down on her.
Yeah, with an automatic one, you can't throw it down. It's not like one of the manual hand ones where you can actually bring it down or up as fast as you want.
Yeah, but the way they did it, she was crawling and it comes down her back, and it does stop her though. It seems like she's affected by it because she stops crawling, and then he drags her back in and stabs her. So it seems like it hurt her somehow.
Well,
so maybe because she had already been stabbed.
Yeah, but I will mention, this girl is not that smart. Maybe they decided, hey, let's make the killers smart, but let's make everyone else stupid. Because this girl gives away her location.
Yep.
By turning on the light.
Yep.
Lady, you're hiding. Turn on the light. That light's going to appear through the cracks of the door.
Yep. This wasn't the smartest screen.
I mean, I understand it's just the first kill, but hell, Drew Barrymore was smarter than this, and all she did was run.
Yeah, but the Scream movies usually have typically, in most cases, the characters are known for their intelligence. Most of the victims even usually are relatively smart people. This opening kill was not that. But do you know the reason why she was killed, which is revealed later, which we can talk about now, because this is going to be, of course, a spoiler-heavy podcast. We know.
Wasn't she the one that Trevor cheated on?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was the idea here, is that this is the girl that Trevor cheated on Jill with this girl. So now, in that context, it becomes not a random kill, but a reason why she was targeted.
Yeah. So there's a good chance that Jill was the one who did the killing with this one, at least with the
I don't
girl.
think so, though.
You think it was Charlie still?
Yeah.
I think it was Charlie with Marnie, just because he'd probably have more of the strength than Jill to throw Marnie through the window.
I think this movie is, and we'll go through it, but I think this movie is, I think Jill does all the phone calls. Charlie's doing all the legwork here pretty much. He's basically the hired gun.
Well, one of them obviously has to have horrorportation to him.
Yes. Well, that's going to be, of course, a standout thing in this movie. We'll break it down, but
they decided to bring in a big cast so we can have a high body count, whereas the first two Screams gave us a moderate to small cast, less kills, but...
Well, the first one did.
Yeah.
Scream 2 was pretty overloaded also, I'd say.
No, not as much as Scream 3 or...
There were sorority sisters, remember? Rebecca Gayheart had 2 minutes of screen time.
Well, they just wanted the Noxema girl to act all cute and cuddly and... Now, I can't really say we technically meet Gail with this scene. You just see her as Dewey gets up. No limp. The limp is gone. Severed nerve has been healed.
With no explanation.
It probably healed itself.
But that's because because you've done some research.
Yes.
As a movie-going watcher who's just watching the movie, I'm like, hey, where'd the limp go?
Well, most people who watched this movie also probably did not go back to rewatch the first three.
Oh, my God. It's one of the biggest horror movie series of all time.
You only need to remember Scream 1.
Oh, my God.
You said it yourself in a previous one. Each movie is a direct sequel of the first, not really of the other two. So, obviously, the three main characters plus Kirby, played by Hayden Panettiere. If anyone understands that name, congratulations. You just won a solid gold Cupid doll.
Everybody knows Hayden.
Jill, played by probably one of the... I can't say best upcoming horror actresses because she's been in the game a little bit, but...
a lot.
I think Scream 4 was her first horror experience.
Yeah, but since then, it's like she totally dove into the horror genre, and now she's probably most known for that.
I found out why. Emma Roberts has always pretty much played like that girl next door, love interest vibe, Whereas horror, because she's always casted as the bitch of the group, or the killer, she literally gets to have out her catty side more.
I think also she's building a brand where it's like the reason why she was so good in Scream Queens is because you've seen her in Scream 4, you've seen her American Horror Story, so it's like it makes sense for her to be in that universe. Charlie is played by Macaulay Culkin's little brother.
I was wondering why he looked so damn familiar.
Yeah, that's Rory McCulkin, yeah.
Okay. I was wondering why he looked so familiar. Like, I've seen this kid before.
Yep. Did we talk about Sydney's assistant, Rebecca? That's actually Alison Brie. She's like a really famous actress actually now, so.
Yeah, the problem is I didn't write her name down until she died.
Well, she's a great actress. She could have been used a lot more here. This was like in her early days, but everybody in the Scream movies, they always draw like actors want to be in this movie. So Anthony Anderson, problem with Anthony Anderson in this movie is that it makes him more of like a parody scary movie because he was in the Scary Movie series.
Well, there's that. What's weird is they make him, a funny cop guy when he's actually played serious roles in Law and Order.
Yeah, but he's definitely known as a comedic actor, though.
Oh, of course. I
You're-
mean, he
you're
has
br-
his own
You're
show
bringing
out
up
now.
his one dramatic role, but he's definitely a comedy actor. So.
He had another dramatic role, sort of. He dramatically screamed when Jet Li threw him off a building. Roman must die.
Some you win, and dim sum you lose. Who could forget that classic line?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I like him as a comedic cop, but this is one of those, like, his scene where he dies. We can just jump there real quick and just describe the scene. That's way too that's way too comedic for a Scream movie.
I found out actually that because of where the knife actually goes in, it can actually happen because the brain is trying to tell your body that you're dead, but your body is still fighting the urge to legitimately die. It is trying to stay alive.
Okay, because I had never seen someone stabbed in the forehead like that. And so it's interesting that happened because you feel like almost like this, like your forehead feels like a brick almost. It's hard to see like a knife going into it like that, but it definitely can happen.
Yeah, because
that's fine. I mean, that's realistic. I'm just like the fuck Bruce Willis part. It's just like that's
part,
a little bit too comedic, right? Him and the other cop were talking, and the other cop was saying basically that, cops always die in horror movies unless you're Bruce Willis. Like the idea was that Bruce Willis is safe, but other cops always die in movies.
Well, first, can we get Bruce Willis in a horror movie to find out?
Well, they're saying just in cops and movies in general. They were doing commentary on cops and movies. They were like, if it's your last day before you're retiring, or if you're Bruce Willis, you're dead. But if you're Bruce Willis, you're okay.
Not true. You got Danny Glover. You got Mel Gibson.
No. But actually, I think they were talking about the movie Seven though, because Morgan Freeman was like his last day where he was gonna retire or something like that.
Yeah,
so.
but he didn't die.
Oh, that's true.
He was alive.
Yeah, that's true. They use that as a stereotype, but it's like you're right.
Brad Pitt was the one who got arrested because he shot.
Oh, well, they said if you're a rookie cop. They said if you're a rookie cop or if it's your last.
Well, most rookie cops make stupid mistakes. I mean, that also happened in Lethal Weapon 3, I believe. The rookie just made his 21st birthday and then goes into a shootout where he dies because the bad guys had bullet.
If you're a rookie, you're going to do dumb stuff.
Yeah.
But their main point was that there was this commentary about Bruce Willis, but it's just like it's so random for a Scream movie. And then when he dies, it's like, fuck Bruce Willis. It's like that feels more like a parrot, like the Scary Movie series.
Now, can we talk about how ruthless this killer technically is with this one? Because most of the time he likes to try and still play with his victims.
Yeah. So actually, let's go back to the beginning then, because basically,
here's Olivia.
We meet our three teenage female characters, which is Olivia, Kirby, and Jill, who are all friends. They're kind of in trouble because Jill is the niece of Sidney Prescott.
Yep, and Sydney's in town.
Because she wrote a book. She pulled a Gail Weathers, and she wanted to get some of that Gail Weathers book money, so she did her own memoirs.
Yep.
I wonder in her memoirs, though, I'm wondering if she actually described the events of Scream 2, Scream 3. Was it all in
very
there?
possible. I mean, it sounded like it was one of those books where is about how her experiences empowered her to be better than what she originally was in the previous movie.
And spurned her to become a best-selling author.
Yeah, pretty much. But I think she was using it more as a way to inspire others who may be in a...
Maybe eventually get chased by Ghostface.
Exactly.
Or chased by Candyman.
Exactly.
Or go to
They're
Crystal
still...
Lake.
She's going to bring up, they're still human. Beat the crap out of them.
Basically...
Because you also find out Sydney apparently knows martial arts now.
Of course. She took lessons.
You would think she would have learned that after the first movie.
So why isn't her book just called How to Survive as a Final Girl? She's basically giving advice to future final girls. But I think it's probably just called... Well, I forgot what the book is called.
It was called Out of Darkness.
Out of Darkness.
Out of Darkness.
So she gave a cliche title. It should have been called How to Be a Final Girl.
Yes.
Over and over again.
Yes. And over again.
I will say this. I should mention there's a deleted scene that advises that her father has died and that this is her first time coming back to Woodsboro since then. And so that's why there's no Neil Prescott in this month.
We get introduced to an aunt, to Sydney's aunt, apparently Marine's sister.
Yep.
That makes no sense to me.
Where'd she come from?
Where'd she come from? Why did Sydney have to find out everything about her mother through the events of 3 slasher films instead of her aunt going, yeah, your mom ran away for like 2+ years, became a Hollywood star, and then she came back?
Maybe, though. So the one argument for that is maybe she was not close with her sister Maureen. They were just maybe estranged sisters. Maybe.
Then that means that this aunt is a bitch, because she even uses Maureen's death as a way to get a little bit of sympathy also from Sydney, because she goes, you're not the only one who lost someone that day. That's the only mention we get of Maureen Prescott. Well,
yeah. So the aunt character, let's be honest, she's pretty underutilized, underdeveloped. We just never really get that much of her.
And also something tells me that I feel like her death was a little too fast. Something tells me she would have put up a fight had Ghostface gotten in that house.
Yeah, absolutely. And, not to say that she's a bad mother, but she raised Jill. So the evidence of her being a great mother is not really apparent in what we see out of Jill. So Jill at the end is basically like, oh, my own mother had to die, but then she's like, no big loss. So of course Jill's crazy, but there's not good parenting there.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out, where did the aunt come from? With everything going on, especially stuff that happens in 1 and 3, because she's learning about the mother, she would play, you don't even need her to play a big part. Just, hi, I'm here. How can I help you? Maybe part 1, she can play a bigger role.
I get why she's not in part. I get why she wouldn't be in part 2 or part 3, because part 2 is at the college and part 3 is in Hollywood.
But part 3 has to deal with the mother, which Sydney would have at least probably called her and be like, hey, did my mom ever do this?
Yeah, maybe.
So at the very least, her voice?
By the time Sydney finds out about that stuff, though, it's kind of like deep into part 3, though. Now, part 1, though, is in Woodsboro. So where was the aunt during the events of part 1? Did she actually move to Woodsboro after that stuff happened to her niece? Because that doesn't make sense to me. Your niece gets attacked in Woodsboro, you're like, I should buy a house there.
Right.
I should raise my child there.
Right.
What? So her having any family in Woodsboro outside of her dad, even her dad would probably be like, I'm getting the hell out of town once that happened.
Right.
But, okay, let's just say for the story purposes, we have to have a niece here. To do that, you have to have the aunt. So
maybe they could have said it was, I don't know, the father's sister instead of the mother's.
That would make more sense.
Because when I hear father's sister, I'm like, okay, I understand that. And then I hear mother's sister. Yeah, Maureen apparently did come from this town. But
actually, to take it a step further, you could have wrote in basically that the reason she's coming back to Woodsboro is her father's funeral. Or the aunt's funeral. Either one of them dying, that's the reason to come back. That's a little more interesting maybe than her book tour, which is they've already done with Gail Weathers.
All right,
so I want to talk about Olivia's death for a second because... Okay,
Ghostface has fun with this one, and he kind of does something he's never done in any of the other movies.
Yeah, but to me, I don't understand what Olivia's doing here because... So the way the scene plays out is that you have... Next door, you have Kirby and Jill hanging out. They're doing a sleepover. The cops are stationed outside. And Olivia comes home. And actually, I think Kirby invites her to come hang out with them.
She does.
And Olivia actually said, she's like, She actually says something about like, I'm feeling creeped out.
She doesn't want to be around the angel of death, which is what they called Sydney because of everything that's happened.
Fair point. But then she's like, oh, my mom is away for the weekend or something like that. My mom is away. She's not here. You're telling me in that scenario, I don't want to be around the angel of death. That's fine. That's decent reasoning. But you'd rather be in an empty house by yourself versus next door with your friends. I don't think that makes sense. And I wonder if she accepted the invite. If she accepted the invite, is she okay then? Is Ghostface is going to chill in the closet all night? So,
well, at that point, you're probably like, this is taking too long. So she's obviously gone over there. So, man, most likely Jill would have told Charlie, he's like, hey, she's not coming over now. She's over here, so you leave the house.
I just think there's like, I think most human beings, if she's actually feeling creeped out, would
rather be with people.
If your mom's home, that's one thing. But literally, you open the door to a dark house, you're like, I'm feeling creeped out. You're really going to go into this empty, creepy house by yourself.
To avoid the angel of death.
By the way, how terrible how bad are the cops outside that they don't see Ghostface sneak into her house and get into the closet?
Well, they're not watching Olivia's house. And most likely Ghostface snuck in through the back door.
Yeah, true. I guess the door was open. Or Ghostface is a good blacksmith. So.
Yeah, so now we also get the scene where Ghostface has never done this before. And I'm going to say Ghostface is his own character, to be honest with you.
He is. It's not... It's like when you think about Ghostface, you're not thinking about Charlie or Jill. You're thinking about Roger Jackson and then...
Whatever
Ghostface.
some person plays the
But
part.
you don't think about, oh, that's Charlie. Later on, you try to put it together, but...
Ghostface is like its own entity at this point. You put on the mask, all of a sudden you are Ghostface. You get the bill. You get
Although we can use common sense here, and obviously all signs point to this being Charlie.
Obviously.
Since Jill is in the other house. This is definitely, hypothetically, Charlie, who's high in the closet, who from the closet can see that they're watching Shaun of the Dead from across... Is there a peephole in the closet or something? He's able to call Kirby and be like, you're watching Shaun of the Dead. Like,
well, and that's why he also pulls the little switcheroo by saying, I'm in the closet.
that's very clever.
Now, the thing I'm saying is definitely unlike Ghostface and is completely new is the fact that he says it, but normally he calls the victim. He doesn't call the person on the other, like 2 houses down. This time he didn't call Olivia, who his next target was. He called Kirby.
So this was all obviously planned by Jill.
Right.
So Jill is there with Kirby. Jill is the mastermind here. So she knows that Charlie's hiding in Olivia's closet.
And don't get me wrong, looking at Olivia's physique versus Charlie's, yeah, if Charlie continued doing the Ghostface thing and called Olivia instead, giving her the warning that she's next, something tells me Olivia would have kicked his ass.
I think the problem with that is, if you call Olivia, he's in the closet, but it's like if you call her, she immediately runs out the house. You being in the closet, and when you call her, you're almost like giving her a head start, unless your plan is to, like, as soon as you start talking to her, to run out the closet, basically. It is bold because you're going to kill her, but you know that when you kill her, the people across the street are alerted to it already. From the moment he comes out the closet, Jill and Kirby are watching.
Yeah, but here's the thing. He definitely has fun with Olivia. He's throwing her around, stabbing her multiple times.
This was extremely vicious. He stabs through her hand at one point.
Like, what
Holy
did
hell.
this woman do to this guy?
I have the answer, though. And it makes sense later on. What he's doing is, this is his first real big kill, right? Let's say outside of Girl at the Beginning. But what he's doing here, I believe, is he's trying to prove himself to Jill. He knows that Jill is watching. Think about when he actually throws the body through the window for them to see. He's showing off to Jill, who obviously he's pretty much in love with at this point. But he's showing off for Jill. That's how I took it, basically. Because no other death scene is him being this vicious.
Yeah, he did not like this girl at all.
I don't know if Olivia had, like, turned him down for the prom or something like that, but he has a clear... He's, like, stabbing her through the hand.
Are we sure this guy's name is Charlie and not Jeremy?
Don't disrespect the name of Jeremy like that. You know, here's my problem. Yes, when we later see when we know this is Charlie, seeing how like scrawny and small Charlie is, it's
Olivia
just
would have kicked his ass had he given her a fair chance.
yeah. They said, I think Wes Craven said, or I guess the studio had told Wes Craven basically, they didn't want Jill and Charlie to be the killers because the killers in the previous movies, they were all basically at least like 6 feet tall. So you could buy them as Ghostface because they were tall, had decent builds. They were like, okay, Jill and Charlie look like real like teenagers. Like Emma Roberts apparently is only 5'2". She has to wear like heels in the movies just to like actually seem like decent sized height wise. Charlie to me is probably like same thing, like 5'8", 5'9". Not scrawny. It's like, so these look like 16-year-olds. Ghostface always feels like a strong guy or like something.
So you're
right?
thinking that the producer probably wanted more Trevor as the killer because he would have fit that bill.
They were just thinking, they're looking at Rory McCulkin and they're like, all right, can you buy that this guy is like being the killer basically? And
not in a horror movie.
And I buy him as a killer in one way, as a school shooter type of killer, with a gun.
Not in a horror movie.
But now where he's going to be so confident to like attack people with a knife. Like now, to be fair, I think the way they got around that is that he's never really attacking like a man or a guy per se. Most of the scenes here when they show him attacking, he's attacking women, but he never really like Mickey and Billy and all that. They had no problems like attacking men
because they were able to fight back.
Yeah, Roman in part 3, he was full on attacking guys. You do see the killer basically. All the death scenes are him attacking women, so that kind of gives a hint to it. But
the guys they do attack, they take them out pretty quickly, showing that they're not going to be able to, showing that they're getting out the people who can fight back easily.
Yeah. So Olivia basically gets a terrible death scene. Sydney runs across the street,
beats the hell out of him, sort of.
Yeah,
kicks him in the face.
You were mentioning that Ghostface isn't clumsy in the movie. But
this is the only time.
But that looked realistic to me. Like, yeah, like Sydney would kick Charlie's ass.
Yeah.
Given there's no like knife there, just 1-on-1, Sydney's probably stronger than Charlie.
And also even if Charlie was stronger with whatever training she got, she could probably outmaneuver a knife by now.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the first things she told her trainers, like, look, I've been attacked by a guy wielding a knife 3 times. Show me how to disarm that.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't think that Charlie took any kind of fighting lessons before donning the mask here. He's going with the idea of I have a knife, I'm powerful, but
kicked in the face.
Yeah,
went down.
Ghostface runs a lot. He runs away a lot in this movie too, actually.
So let's get to Rebecca's death.
So Jill is in the hospital, so she's not involved here. So this is again clearly Charlie. Rebecca, she's having a bad day. She gets fired by Sydney, and now she gets killed. And I think that probably the idea was to kill whoever's close to Sydney. But if the killers just knew that she was not very well liked and was going to get fired, probably she could have been spared.
So I will say that
this is a pretty good death scene, though.
Oh, it is, because it also makes sense in the context that obviously the killers are going. Charlie most likely did this one by himself. He was given the target, but he did it by himself.
Jill is in the hospital.
Jill could have sent him the message if Olivia decided to come to the house. Jill could have just sent him, "Hey, get out of there. She's over here now."
This is Charlie's brainchild, definitely. Which, I mean, look, you have a woman in a parking garage. You should be able to.
And what he does to make sure that she can't leave is take out the cords to the car. Why was the car still able to turn on? I mean, you couldn't. Obviously, she couldn't get it turned over, but lights still came on. These looked like electrical cords in his hand.
Do you think, in hindsight, that she should have stayed in the car still, or she should have got up and did what she did, which was try to run? Well, she jogged lightly to the door.
I was about to say she didn't run.
She jogged lightly. By the time she got there, Ghostface was already running up on her. But was she just screwed either way, or was there any chance of to survive here? To me, she didn't have that many options. But
I was going to say, Charlie's a pretty scrawny guy. He probably wouldn't be able to break a window, but he could use the butt end of the knife and as much strength as he can muster to smash through the window easily. It doesn't take much to break those windows.
I don't think he wanted to smash the windows, though.
It would have made too much noise.
He seemed to be waiting for her to get out the car, basically.
Yeah, but still, most likely, had she stayed in, he would have waited a few minutes and went, okay, she ain't coming out. I got to do something.
All right, so let's say
She's
that
probably screwed either way.
let's say she made the right move, but she should have ran fast to the door, as fast as she could. As fast as you could run to the door is your best chance, because then it's just a foot race.
Well, here's another question.
And the door was locked.
Why didn't she take off her heels before she started running?
Well, that's true.
That's one
She didn't want to mess up her nails.
so,
She probably got recently got a manicure.
pedicure. I'm just wondering, because you see this whole thing in these movies. A lot of the actresses are like, yes, you can run in heels. I'm like, yeah, you can. But I'm sure it's uncomfortable as shit.
And how fast can you run in heels?
It depends on if you actually know how. Like Jurassic World. I forget the redhead's name. But that woman, she literally practiced on running on heels just so she could do that scene in heels. That was her choice because the director said, your heels have to come off at some point to make this believable. She goes, no, I've been teaching myself to run on heels. I'm doing the scene in heels. No idea why.
That's kind of weird.
Yeah, but
Okay, so well, even if she runs bare feet,
if she runs fast enough, it depends. Was the door locked?
The
when she
problem
got
is
to
the
it?
door's locked. She got to the door,
Yeah, so-
but she couldn't open it. When she turns around, he's running up on her stabber. If the door was open, she actually probably gets through.
Yeah, but door's locked, so tough tits.
And the door being locked, I'm not sure if that even makes sense. I guess Ghostface had to consciously...
He probably had to consciously lock the door before actually attacking her.
And Ghostface also probably had to scope out the garage before to make sure nobody was in the parking garage. Because if one person shows up, like I said, Charlie to me is such a weak killer and in terms of who he is that anybody stumbling upon him. In other movies, if somebody stumbles upon Ghostface, I'd just be like, oh, Ghostface would just kill them also. But if the wrong person stumbles upon Charlie in the Ghostface mask, he's probably going to kick his ass.
Yeah, but
So,
like I said, anyone who dons the Ghostface mask becomes Ghostface.
superhuman powers.
Ghostface is its own entity.
Are there any scenes with Sidney and Gale together?
Barely.
There's really no connection there.
So even though in the first couple movies, Gale and Sidney did not like each other, I still feel like...
Do you say that because Sidney punched her in the face twice?
Yeah. I still feel like Gale, though, because Sidney's still young in those movies, did not want to involve her in it.
That's fair.
This one, however, I'm wondering if she's trying to do it for her own glory again.
Well, she's living like a very small town life, and she wants to be back into the big time media. Basically, she wants to be in the game pretty much. She's dissatisfied with being Dewey's housewife. She wants to be a reporter again, be on the news. So this is her opportunity to get back in the thick of things.
So,
and unfortunately, she shows up at the Stabathon and gets stabbed.
So I'm just wondering. So I understand fictional killers get held in high regard just because the movies are so iconic, or the killer is iconic, like Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, but they're still fictional.
Right.
They're not based on actual killers. These stab movies are based on a legitimate 3 killers. Well,
Yep.
5 killers.
Yep.
So why are these movies and this particular killer being held in such high regard when it is a legitimate, real thing in this universe?
Not only that, but the kills happen in Woodsboro.
Yeah, so
the town folks of Woodsboro are literally watching movies where their fellow town folks were murdered.
So I'm fine with them.
And why would they call the killer Ghostface? Wouldn't it be like this was Billy and Stu? And...
Like I said, Ghostface is his own entity. But
True.
still, I can understand them, watching it as a sick and twisted form of remembrance for the characters.
But you're saying basically,
But they're holding the killer.
Why is it being celebrated?
Yeah, that's what I'm baffled by.
Well, never underestimate the poor taste of teenagers.
Yeah, I see that.
So
now Gale is attacked.
Gale's attacked, and it's kind of stupid because basically her and the killer are playing this game where he set up a camera, she set up a camera, and they're trying to change each other's cameras almost. The killer sneaks up behind Gale, and Dewey happens to be watching her camera, so he sees it.
Yep.
And then again, one-on-one, Gale probably would beat up Charlie, but
unfortunately he did get the element of surprise. But here's the only problem I got with this is when I first watched this movie,
When it came out, first time,
Yeah.
2018.
Yeah. I could have sworn I remember Gail getting a lot more, with lack of better terms, fucked up.
You thought she got a Dewey type of scene where all signs pointed to her death, but then she's in the hospital.
Yeah, I could have sworn I remember watching her getting stabbed at least 2 or 3 times and then thrown. That's what I remembered.
Well, let me ask you a question. If you're Charlie, you have her down. Let's say you only have one stab, right? You stab her in the shoulder. This ruthless killer, you stab her in the shoulder. Were you trying to kill her, Charlie? What are you doing?
So if I was going to stab someone in the shoulder, what I would have done, if I'm trying to kill him, stab in the shoulder, twist the knife, and then slowly pull the knife all the way across the chest.
Think about that. You kill Gale Weathers, you're infamous for killing Gale Weathers. And by the way, how come Dewey never gets attacked in this whole movie? Like, the killer has no thought
Because
to even
people
target him.
watching Dewey getting attacked and still be alive in the next movie is getting old.
The killers, they watch the first 5 stab movies, are like, you know what, let's not even bother with Dewey, all right? We can probably cut off his head, stick it up his ass, and he'll be back in the sequel, so. All right, so Dewey, Dewey's like basically not even involved in this movie.
I mean,
really,
to be fair, he does still get an ass beaten.
Oh, yeah, but only because he involves himself, though. There's never a time where the killer targets Dewey. But anyways. Now, okay, so a couple things, though, plot-wise. So there's some little details there you have to pay attention to. So there's a deleted scene where they show that Charlie got a ride to Stabathon with Robbie. So you got a ride there. We know that Kirby is at Stabathon also, right? So from there, the next party thing is going to be at Kirby's house.
Right, where she picks up Jill.
Kirby goes home, but Jill asks Kirby for a ride. And we see that Sydney finds Jill's laptop saying that, pick me up. She's out the window. Now, the problem is I don't know how far Stabathon is from Jill's house because obviously the cops are outside the house, right? The theory online that I read, at least, there's different theories here. Some people think that, okay, Jill goes out the window in her costume. She's the one that kills the cops. I don't. The other side of that, which I agree with more, is that I don't think she does that if Kirby's coming to pick her up. I think she's walking down the street, wherever Kirby's going to meet her, and Kirby picks her up, basically. Charlie makes his way back from Stabathon because now he knows the next step for him is to come here and try to get Sydney to
Go to Kirby's.
show up at Kirby's by attacking her. So I think that's definitely Charlie who kills the cops. I think Jill just now is pretty much riding along to Kirby's house. And then also that means Charlie's the one who stabs the poor aunt and kills her.
So, where the fuck is Robbie in all this? Did Charlie just walk all the way there?
So this is where it's tricky. So I think that, so basically, remember, at the end of Stabathon,
Everyone's running away because
he stabbed Gale Weather. He's Ghostface. He's got to get the hell out of there. So he gets the hell out of there. He either hitches a ride or he's running himself. I don't think he reconnects with Charlie there. Now,
You don't think Charlie reconnects with Robbie, you mean?
not there. Charlie must have been like, hey, no, Robbie must have been like, hey, Charlie got his own ride home. He found his own ride. But Charlie, he's in Ghostface costume. He can't just, maybe he does, I don't know. But
So,
that's why Stabathon cannot be that far from Jill's house.
So with you taking that into context, sure, but seeing as how this movie obviously had to have had a deleted scene that was important for us to understand what the hell, because the way it's edited does not tell that story.
It's too quick because it goes right from Stabathon to like the cops.
And to be honest, right from even there to everyone already at Kirby's, like,
okay,
how are
now
you all there at once?
Now that again, and this is where I'll give props to Wes. Wes does actually, he does put a lot of details in the movie. You got to really pay attention though. Like, I watched the movie 3 times this week because working from home, I just had it playing in the background. So I picked up on a few things. When they first cut to Kirby's house, you have Kirby and Jill on the couch. Kirby already has a drink poured. She's been drinking. She already seems tipsy. They're relaxed, basically, right? They show Charlie and Robbie. One of them, Robbie goes and picks up a beer. But it does look like they're just arriving. And then Trevor shows up, and Charlie's like, "Oh, I left the door open for him to come in." So from that perspective, okay, I'm sorry. Jill and Kirby have been there for a while. They're on the couch. Robbie and Charlie just got there. Charlie was doing his Ghostface stuff, and then I guess Robbie came and picked him up, and they ride to Kirby's house where Kirby and Jill are already there chilling because we already know Jill left her window and got that ride from Kirby. So I feel bad for the aunt a little bit, but
yeah,
we never really knew her.
So here's the one thing I'm curious. So you're here for the detective telling Dewey, Haas and Perkins were killed. Okay, cool. Yeah, they were stabbed multiple times.
Nope.
How do you fuck yourself up in 5 minutes?
Yeah, well, the other thing too is like I think she says that they found the car down the road or something like that, right? So the killer had to like pick up
Anthony Hopkins.
Anthony Anderson. You call him Anthony Hopkins? That's Hannibal Lecter. Yeah.
Now I'm getting there. Yeah. So you're telling me Charlie's able to pick up Perkins?
Well, this is more evidence that this is definitely not Jill, because someone had to pick up Perkins, put them in the car, and then drive them down the street.
Are we sure there is not a third killer? Literally Ghostface.
I think it's Stu. Stu got paroled out of prison. We don't know.
I mean, being in prison, he would get some beef to him.
All right, let's get to the party where Trevor shows up. Kirby and Charlie have a moment, which to me,
Trevor fucks up.
And Charlie at this point should just abandon the whole plan and be like, hey, I can actually get with Kirby. This is probably my favorite girl. So
yeah, but then Charlie dons the costume and kills his best friend.
And that one is pretty obvious because they show Charlie walk away angry, and then a minute later, Ghostface is coming out the front door. So at that point, you should pretty much know Charlie's the killer.
Right.
I'm just surprised he killed his best friend with so much ruthless, like not caring at all.
So remember how much he. Remember, apparently, rules for a remake is the only people left alive are gays. So of course Robbie's like, no, you can't give me their rules. I'm gay.
Which may have worked with anybody, but that happens to be his best friend. He's like, lying motherfucker. Probably killed him more.
And then he even says, like, if it helps.
Yeah, with a stranger maybe, but not with your best friend who hangs out with you every day.
I don't even think it would work with a stranger. The stranger's just like, okay, take that off.
It's kind of like it's like the Tatum kill though, where it's always like, it's kind of like, I'm like, if you're Charlie, unless you really just didn't like Robbie, it's like, you plan to survive, right? Like, why are you killing your best friend? Like, you're supposed to be a survivor at the end. Don't you want you? It's kind of like the Tatum thing. It's like, you plan to survive, right? Like, why kill your girlfriend? Why kill your best friend?
Well, so
crazy.
To be honest with you, Robbie still at times you can see a little snippets here and there that Robbie would still at times actually put Charlie down.
Yeah.
I mean, Charlie, you can definitely tell, has been bullied his entire life, and he's continuing, and he's even with somebody who may see him as harmless jokes, but Charlie's already pushed to the edge. One little joke's going to push him even further.
Robbie only cared about his stupid YouTube channel or whatever streaming thing he's doing. Mm-hmm. He was big on that. So this is where it gets interesting, though. So Trevor leaves. He says he's going upstairs
to look for
Jill. So we got to put two and two together in here and say that basically he goes upstairs and Jill either knocks him out or does something to incapacitate him. Because then...
Most likely not, just took something heavy and whacked him with it.
Yeah, because then Kirby goes towards the front door and Jill comes downstairs saying that, hey, Trevor didn't come upstairs. So Trevor's upstairs in the bedroom, pretty much been hit in the head with something, right? Sydney shows up. Someone made a good point online about how the hell does Sydney know where Kirby lives? How would she know where her house is? But then someone else said, well, maybe the aunt had the GPS in her van that had Kirby's address. It's like, okay, but Sydney took a long time to get there, so maybe she went to the wrong house first or something. I don't know.
That's very possible.
Sydney shows up, and then here comes Charlie. But Charlie must not know what the hell is going on because he's going towards, you got Sydney and Jill, Kirby. He looks confused. He chases Sydney up the stairs, but then, again, Wes, attention to detail, Jill's in front, right? Jill leads them into the room. I'm guessing she knows that Trevor's in the other room, passed out. So she leads Sydney into the room where Trevor's not at. And then Jill goes under the bed.
Leaving Sydney and Kirby.
Well, Sydney goes on the roof first, which is just stupid. And Sydney does a dumb thing where she sees the killer on the roof. The killer goes the opposite direction, and Sydney knows that, but still walks around and gets hit by the killer in the face. It's like, you just saw him go around. What are you doing?
Sydney's getting older. Her mind is getting a little deader.
Well, yeah, but she was smart enough to write a book, which we don't know was a good book or a bad book, but she wrote a book, so.
Well, that book doesn't do as much good because she's not rich, so I don't know if it was a good book.
She comes back in the house, and now she runs into Kirby, who advises to let's go in the basement. Good little detail here. Before they walk in the basement, you hear like a thud noise, right? Now, what that is you remember now when the big reveal happens that Trevor's in the downstairs closet, and he comes out the closet. So that thud is Charlie and Jill carrying Trevor's body down the stairs. So that's what you hear, and it makes sense if you think about it. That's what's happening when they go into the basement. Then they're in the basement, and I guess Charlie gives the Ghostface costume to Jill, and Charlie ties himself in that chair in the back, basically, because now they're reenacting the Casey Steve death thing from the first movie.
Right.
And then we get the classic Kirby phone call here, which she shows her horror movie knowledge. My question is, though, Jill's the one making the phone call. Jill seems to have the most horror movie knowledge. Like, she's naming horror movies that are like, I'm like, damn, did Jill actually know?
Even named a horror movie I'd never heard of. What was it, 1960s?
It was something I was like, is Jill actually? Nothing in the movie shows that she's the biggest horror movie fan, but she knows more than Kirby about horror movies even. So that was kind of threw me out.
Because she brought up like I said, a movie from 1960s that apparently
Kirby
was Kirby
gets the first question wrong, and then she's like, "Ask me one more question," and he's like, "Fine."
But technically, she gets a few questions right. Obviously, all easy questions.
Yeah.
And then gets that one, which movie started the slasher craze, which was that 1960s. I forgot the name of it, but it wasn't Psycho because that's what Kirby said was Psycho.
Yeah, and he says Peeping Tom, I think he says.
That's it.
And I'm like, I know this is Jill making the phone call. Like, really, Jill? Like, you've been just watching all these horror movies on the low key or something?
Yeah, and then.
But then we got the classic remake question. First of all, Kirby, you don't let Ghostface finish the question. Right. So you're answering. I mean, I guess by him using the word remake, you just can name every remake of all time, and then one of those is right?
Yeah, and I'm just sitting there like, do we really need a scene like this?
I like it, though, because I like Kirby, though. Kirby, to me, is the one new character I actually like. But I can't see any scenario where she then opens the door and walks out back. She actually opens the door, knowing Ghostface is out there, and goes to try to help Charlie, and then stabs her. But that was bad writing when she actually just was like, I got it right? Yes, I got it right. And then she opens the door. Like, just stay there.
Jill and Charlie are the killers.
Listen, you got to get those followers on Instagram and Facebook. And Jill's like, man, I got to get my social media profile up. And the only way to do this is to attack my aunt, who's Sidney Prescott.
What?
And Charlie's just like, I love you, Jill.
What the ever-living fuck is this motivation?
I like it. I'm going to say right now, that for me is not a complaint about the movie because it's realistic to how teenagers think these days. Some of them.
I'm not going to have kids after this movie. Because if this is literally how they think, that they need to kill people for likes on Facebook.
She has a line that I think is spot on. She's like, friends? I don't need friends. I need fans. And that's how people think. That's the whole spirit behind social media. So,
Emma Roberts has fans.
Yeah, but Jill Prescott does not, right? I think actually this movie's ahead of its time because I think that even would make more sense if it came out today. This is back in 2011. I think now it would be even more relevant today, unfortunately. Charlie, I don't know what his motivation was. He's the one, he's like the Mickey or the Stu. And by the way, as a side killer, he should know from all the stab movies that things never go well for the side killer.
Notice how when she stabs him in the heart, he goes, "You're supposed to get my shoulders." Like, yeah, well, you had to die at some point.
He should know this though. He should know she's setting him up. It's just, yeah, of course he's a soul killer. They kill Trevor, who's
Which
check this out. When they kill Trevor, this is crazy. You know how they pull him out the closet, right? He's wearing the exact same clothes
as the dad,
as Sydney's dad. I don't know how they coordinated that, but that's pretty
well. Here's
amazing.
the real question I'm wondering is, so yeah, but they do know that Neil survives. He wasn't charged for murder, and also Billy wasn't shot in the dick. That was a very personal death right there.
Well, this was a teenage girl saying, "Hey, yeah, I'm executing my plan, but you did cheat on me." She even said, she was like,
I'm not the girl you cheat on.
all things considered, even though I don't feel like I know anything about Trevor, I feel bad for him.
I don't. I didn't give a shit about the character. Oh, he shouldn't have cheated on her. Do not cheat on Emma Roberts.
Jill's plan is almost perfect, except that when she goes to kill Sydney, instead of stab her in the heart, she stabs her in the stomach and leaves Sydney alive.
So again, I can somewhat understand that to Jill, this is all personal for these last two kills. With Charlie, it was practically a quick death.
Yeah, but my point is you have to make sure Sydney's dead.
Yeah, that is true. But
yeah, you see Sydney pass out, you got to make sure she's dead. Otherwise,
So-
your whole plan goes up in flames,
Yeah,
which
but-
happens.
oh, but think of it this way: she wanted Sydney to suffer. No idea why. She even says, "I don't really care about you."
The theory online is that her plan is so concrete. She had told Charlie basically to film all the deaths. So Charlie has camera footage of all the deaths, which basically incriminates him. And what they think online is, some people think, and I think it's interesting, that she literally had Charlie do all the deaths, and that she literally is her only deaths are her killing Charlie and Trevor and Sydney. So those deaths at the party, those are only deaths. So she can actually, technically she is innocent. She's not the actual killer. She killed the ones that are coming after her at the end. But she's so planned out that basically all the prior deaths would be traced back to Charlie and not her. And there's video footage because Charlie's dumbass filmed every death. So,
and then we get
fortunately, Sydney has 9 lives. So,
yeah, but now we get Jill kicking her own ass. And I said it to you once, and I'll say it to everybody. The movie Liar Liar with Jim Carrey did this a hell of a lot better.
No, I disagree. When she runs into the picture, I laughed my ass off. I don't know if they're going for comedy, but it was just hilarious. She does a good job of beating the shit out of herself. But, well, from her perspective, her plan works. She's on the way to the hospital. She gets to the hospital, and as you point out, sir, she's about to shoot herself in the foot.
So she's talking to Dewey, and she's telling Dewey, hey, yeah, maybe me and your wife can write a book since we have matching scars.
How would you know about these scars, Jill? Why are you talking to Dewey and trying to form some connection? How would you know about the scars?
Yeah, so I'm sure any sensible person would probably say, well, they maybe released it during the news thing that she was... No, the news thing only says she was stabbed.
And Gail, being the reporter that she is, immediately picks up on it. And that sends Dewey running down the hallway because she knows now that Jill is probably trying to kill Sydney, which she is.
Oh, look at that. And there's a fight where...
Dewey gets beat up with a bedpan.
Well, this fight, first between
gets his ass kicked.
Jill and Sydney. Jill definitely comes the closest to killing Sydney.
Yeah.
She beats the living hell out of this woman.
Yeah. I don't
know if they were going for intensity with this.
Do you know the story behind the original ending?
No.
So, unfortunately, Kevin Williamson, who wrote the script, he got in a fight with the Weinsteins, and they actually brought in the guy who wrote Scream 3, Ethan Kruger. They actually brought him in to rewrite Kevin Williamson's script. Now, they left in most of his script, but they changed some things.
Like the ending?
So the original ending was much more interesting because it was going to set up a whole new trilogy. In the original ending, Jill actually wins. But they leave it on a cliffhanger because...
They don't show what happened to Sydney?
You have the same thing, right? But as she's going in the ambulance, one reporter in the background says, oh, we still have one alive here. And then Jill's like, oh, shit, and it ends there. They don't say who's alive. They're just like, oh, we have one. Oh, this one's still alive. And you leave it there. But the idea for the next movie was going to be that even though Sydney had survived, she had amnesia. So she didn't remember that last part of the movie. So it was going to have Jill go off to college and basically be doing like a new thing with a new group of people with Kirby, actually, who was still going to be alive also. But from Kirby's perspective, this is why it's brilliant. Kirby would think Charlie's the killer. Because think about what happened to Kirby. So Kirby would actually be able to confirm, yeah, Charlie stabbed me. So everything would be like perfect for the next movie. They go off to college and then some Ghostface stuff happens there, even though Jill is low-key the killer. So it was going to be a whole trilogy, but it was going to end on like a nice thing of just like her being rolled away, thinking she got away, and be like, oh, there's still one living. That to me is way more interesting than this don't fuck with the original cliche typical ending we get. So
to be honest with you,
because it all makes sense then.
Be honest with you, I wouldn't have even had that. Literally, that last shot with after Sydney was stabbed and Jill crawled herself over to Sydney, and I think Jill said this is perfect.
Yeah.
Before she technically passes out from all the pain she just gave herself. If it cut right there,
perfect,
because then you could have continued the sequel. Jill's alive, but then you get the question. Sydney.
You do the same story basically in the second one, but you don't give it away here. It's like, okay, we don't know if Sydney's alive or dead, but it's just the idea of the killer wins in this movie. For the Scream series, that would have been way more interesting than the typical Sydney kills the villain. And like that sequel setup where they go off to college and Kirby's just thinking that, yeah, Charlie was the killer. And
so really the second movie, we'd really be following Kirby. Because if they decided to keep it a secret if Sydney lived or died, they wouldn't even mention Sydney except for maybe a passing glance. Like, but if they mention Sydney,
you can bring Sydney back, but you do that thing of like she has amnesia.
I wouldn't have even brought her back. I would literally be like, maybe the whole second movie follow Kirby.
Because you still have Dewey and Gale, who can still be
right.
Because apparently there's going to be a new Ghostface on campus. Maybe nothing to do with Jill. But you have that extra thing of like Jill was the killer from the last movie, and now let's say her and Kirby are getting attacked by a new Ghostface. It's just an interesting dynamic. And you can have Dewey and Gale show up and do whatever. But yeah, that was the plan for the original trilogy. But once Kevin Williamson had the issues with the Weinsteins and this bombed at the box office, it killed the series. They pivoted to doing the TV show, and now we got the new one. But basically they, after test screenings or something, they basically came back with this whole hospital ending, which gives us the cliched Dewey, Gale, and Sydney defeat the bad guy.
I'm going to say this again because I know I've said it once. And I'm probably going to say it throughout our entire damn time. Fuck test screenings.
Yep.
These imbeciles.
Why would you take the feedback of somebody who happens to be in that crowd, who could have been in a bad mood when they saw the movie, who knows, and actually change your movie based on that?
Why even show it to a test audience? Test audiences has so far ruined almost every movie that could have had a good premise, good ending, good everything.
Yeah, you have too many examples of basically, you don't have that many examples of like the test screening actually saved the movie and turned into a good movie. But you have a lot of situations where it's like, you listen to them? Even I've seen a lot of actors say basically that the influence of test screenings is way too influential on the studio being like, okay, let's actually change the entire movie.
Because how much you want to bet the test audience didn't even see Screams 1 through 3 yet? Because remember, Scream 4 really was meant for Scream fans.
And let's be honest, the test audience probably watching the movies like, give us a happy ending. Like, that's fine, but the original ending sets up a whole new series, basically.
Like I said, they need to stop with the test screenings. Test screenings just ruin movies.
And that's the thing. Jill she's just interesting enough to where you could do more with her in the movies. But anyways, we get the cliched ending.
All right. So,
categories.
Yes, categories. Best performance.
Hayden for me. I don't know if Hayden's character was written that well, but man, she's the only one in this movie that like I'm like, man, I want to hang out with her.
Be honest, I have to go with Hayden Panettiere also. She had some of the best lines in the movie. She was the most fun to be around, it looked like, and she was the best fleshed out character. And that's saying something, considering fact Jill should have been the best fleshed out character. Yeah,
Jill disappears too much, and Kirby, you just feel like you know who she is, basically.
Yeah.
And, like I said, she's probably the most popular character in the movie. And To me, she's just like Jennifer from Part 3, where like she adds some new spice to the cast.
So, worst.
The worst is either the guy who plays Trevor, who I just thought was like a nothing character, and I don't blame him for that, but he left no impression.
He had no lines. He had no scenes.
But I really thought that Rory McCulkin did a terrible job as Charlie. I didn't like Charlie the character. I didn't like the acting performance. And then when he was Ghostface, it just all seemed pathetic.
Yeah.
The thing with the end when he's like, the heart, all that stuff. I'm like, I'm trying to think of you as like this ruthless killer who did all these killings. You stabbed me in the heart. It just, I couldn't put that together with a guy who had done that to Olivia.
Yeah, because also to be fair, they probably were trying to go more with what happened to Stu. But at the same time, Stu didn't even act like that.
But even Stu felt more threatening to me than this guy. And and this guy's supposed to be like, he's supposed to be like the muscle here.
Stu did get a few wallops in on Sydney.
Yeah, he just seemed like he was so easy manipulated. But like I said, I didn't like the actual performance even outside of Ghostface. I didn't like Charlie at all.
Yeah,
I didn't like Charlie or Robbie. I thought that they both were just unlikable jerks. So
then let's go on to best scene. I don't have a whole lot with this one.
Well, I think the Olivia scene is very well done because you have the phone call, you have them in the other room. That gets points for originality. Like you said, you've never seen the killer call someone else in a different house. So I got to go with the Olivia.
I mean, I
the Olivia scene is the most shocking, well done, brave thing in the movie.
So again, for me, I just can't think of a damn scene.
You like the Olivia scene. You said it earlier.
Yeah, it's fun and all, but I'm going to say Olivia scene. All right, so worst scene. I got a lot to choose from.
The worst scene is probably...
The hospital.
No.
I'm going with the whole hospital.
I'm going with any scene that had Dewey and Gail bickering over the relationship. The scene at the cop station early on where you have Dewey, Gail, and Judy Hicks. Mm-hmm. Just, I didn't like their dynamic at all.
So I'm just going. The reason I say the hospital is because now, after hearing the original ending,
it frustrates you.
It does. It really does. Because even though I didn't care for this movie, and I'm sure, and I know I'm not in my final thoughts, but fuck it, people know I don't. What was it? Something to explore more. The aunt.
The aunt. Where the hell? Have a scene where Cindy's like, "Hey, where the hell were you during part 1?" Let me just say that. It'd be very meta.
Right. Okay, so what would you want to change? Probably Charlie as the killer. I'm fine with keeping Jill because, as you mentioned, she's a mastermind. She probably didn't kill a damn person.
I would probably have Trevor as the killer.
He looks like he'd be more muscle.
I would have Trevor as the killer,
and she could have used the whole cheating on her thing as the manipulation to get him to do what she wanted.
Or just go really like insane out of nowhere and just have like one of the cops. Not Anthony Anderson, but have the other one be like the other killer. So.
Or Judy Hicks as the other killer.
They made her suspicious throughout, but
right.
I never saw it.
She could have put up a good fight against a few people.
Maybe. But you're saying have 2 female killers? That'd have been interesting.
Yeah, it would have. And then of course Judy dies by getting stabbed in the heart. But that's besides the point.
That's the heart, not how we practiced. Try my lemon cakes.
Something tells me Judy would have kicked Jill's ass though.
I got a feeling that she kills her and says, "I never liked your damn lemon squares anyways.
They taste like ass.
Next time, make brownies in hell." All right.
Remember, brownie hell has cookies.
Well, then I want to go where there's brownies.
That would be purgatory, sir.
Oh, damn.
For me, most of my final thoughts are throughout the entire movie, so I'm just going to jump to the stars and say 1.5.
I'm going to go 2 stars. I think
you always got to one-up me, don't you?
I gave Scream 3 1.5 stars, and I think this is a little bit better than Scream 3.
It is definitely better than Scream 3.
And I feel like there is enough where I could probably watch this movie again. There's some rewatchability. And I didn't hate it. I think it's not a good movie, but I think it's not horrible either. So I'm going to go 2 stars.
Anyway, everyone, this is getting a little late. We are sorry. You have a good night.
I appreciate you guys. You don't got to go home, but you got to get out of Woodsboro.
Definitely get out of Woodsboro, or you're going to find out that your death is going to add to somebody's fan base.
And if you're going to go to Woodsboro, at least write a book first, make some money, then go there and die. So
yeah, sounds good.
All right.
Leave something for your family
Leave them some lemon squares.
because it tastes like ass.
If Judy Hicks made them.